Oh, hey, look, everyone. Alice is back to the tea party. We welcome to the Rhetoric rabbit hole. Uh, Alice, today we have Joseph Page from Platypus 9 and Neif at the round table. How you guys doing today?
Super good.
So I I've been looking forward to doing this, Joseph, because I've probably seen Platypus like I know at least half a dozen times. But I don't know if we've ever talked before. And like you've always seemed like a cool guy and always wanted to talk to you.
That's cool, man. I didn't know that.
uh
I'm
man,
very weird after we play, man. I'm like a very weird dude after that.
it's hard for me to approach people sometimes too, but I always wanted to like go up and say hi to you. You
Oh,
guys put on
I
amazing shows.
Yeah,
thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I
I've
do.
I've 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 seen a handful of them. And yeah, they've always been really something else. I'm glad
Thank
to
you.
see that kind of thing happening.
You guys opened for Dai Kaiju at
I know, dude.
Springwater.
Yeah, dude.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was like a really great show, man.
Yeah, not just Dai Kaiju, the whole night. You guys, Wrong Eagle, Dai Kaiju. Oh my god, it
That
was
was a great show.
insane.
That shit's in my memories for sure, man.
Yeah, that was a legendary night. Fucking there, Springwater had broken ceiling tiles. Like
Yeah, dude. I've never seen it packed like that, man. That shit was ridiculous.
it was too packed. Like Springwater
It
was
was.
beyond
It
capacity.
was, dude. It was
Yeah,
too packed.
It's great.
and it's almost perfect though for what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, man.
It's just I don't think there was a more perfect venue
No, man.
packed out like
Honestly,
just to just be.
I'm sorry. That's my favorite now. That and the mouth hole in Nashville, man.
Mm.
Those
Uh-huh.
like I love those places.
Places like that have just like there's a just an air about it. It's like you can't find in any other place.
Yeah, yeah.
Spring water.
Betty's was like that a long time.
Betty's, yeah.
It, it
I've seen
was.
you guys there too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we
Uh-huh.
played there a lot, dude.
Yeah. So you guys have a new single coming out today, or it's out.
Yeah, it's out now. Yeah, we do.
I just listened to it about an hour ago, and I fucking love it. Uh,
Thank you.
what was it like working with Bobby Fischer?
Man, I had met him quite a few times here and there, and he's just like the most personable, normal guy, like just really nice. And so like it was such a rare opportunity for us to do something that we would never probably have done otherwise. So it was really cool, man.
Yeah, I bet that was a first for you guys.
Sure, dude, for sure. Yeah,
That's
we
cool.
always write our music, that's normal.
Yeah, yeah. It's very like you guys. As long as I've seen you guys, have always been just like cutting edge different. Like I can't put you guys in a box at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always, y'all
when I
always
yeah
defaulted to what we always, especially back in the punk days, defaulted to, noise rock or art
Yeah,
rock.
dude. Yeah,
Call it art rock because it's,
yeah,
you could call it jazz, you could call it this and that, but it's really one of the most pure forms. I've actually recently gotten back more into doing a lot of that kind of stuff now that I've had the outlets to do it. And, and it's really always found it's because it is so raw and pure
yeah,
of a just what you're doing, you're not even worried about, it's beyond even worrying about a genre. You're not even
yeah,
approaching it from a genre
hmm
from the get go. You're just, you got instruments or tools and you got an idea or a thought, and you just
yeah,
build, you
I
know.
I think when you said art rock, that to me sounds fitting because it's like that's what it comes to mind when it's art because it's cutting edge like out of I hesitate to say prog because it's not really that, but it's like different, you know?
I really appreciate that. I
Yeah.
think like I think that like with Roughneck, man, that was the first time that yeah, that's the first time that I really tried to follow any kind of formula rather than just make a
Mm.
piece of art, like some
Right.
type of musical art, like, so that it was interesting. It was fun like that. I It was very hard to maintain that rawness though that you're talking about, like from the other stuff that we usually do.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well,
I think that's a whole nother art form in itself too.
I,
So,
I, t- I took it
you
that
know,
way, man. I
yeah, it's
did,
not to
dude.
be taken away from sculpting something to fit,
Yeah, no,
because
it
that in
was,
itself, it's kind of like the efficiency itself is an art thing, to find the
yeah,
efficiency in something.
yeah.
So,
For me, dude, because you play music too, like the way I approached it was every time I would repeat something, I would make this really subtle change that
right,
satisfied my urge to never repeat something. And so that was really cool. That was like a new way for me to express something that I would have never even probably discovered otherwise.
right,
yeah. I after you and I were talking about you coming on the show, I went and watched uh the interview you did with Scufflemus a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. And okay, so there's something I wanted to ask you about because you guys very briefly touched on it, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? He was asking you about the name, about how Vladipus, then
Yeah.
how, yeah. So and you were explaining your like inspirations, like your influence. Uh,
Yeah.
so like you got Vlad the Impaler, but then when you started talking about the platypus, you were like, I'm pretty sure a platypus. You said something like, I'm pretty sure a platypus is evidence of genetic manipulation or something.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
expand on that, please?
I feel like the duck-billed platypus, especially now that they're saying that it has bioluminescence involved in it now.
What the fuck?
But I saw something about their
I
fur.
haven't heard that one.
I, I, I I'm pretty
I missed
sure
on
that
that.
they were talking about the duck-billed platypus and another animal that they've recently discovered displays bioluminescent fur sometimes. But anyway, like with all of the anomalies with the duck-billed platypus, it always like gave me this idea that there was some kind of answer in that about the genetic manipulation of DNA,
Right.
like in the early years. And so that's what that was about. Because like, man, they started out like with vampires, and the supernatural was how you could stay alive forever. And then
Right.
it turned into genetic manipulation. And now it's like aliens, so like Plan 9. And so like
Okay.
it's
I was
it's
gonna
all
say,
about like this joke that
I
like
thought that the nine might have been a Plan
Hmm.
9 reference
totally, dude,
in
just the
there.
old
I thought that
science
might have been
fiction.
was because it does have that, and I love that connection that's made. Especially, a lot of people miss it in a lot of old horror, and I'm not the
Yeah.
biggest horror buff, but a lot of people miss it
So you
where
grew up
they're
on that
kind of
stuff.
like Misfits did it. One of my favorite tracks there is Astro Zombies.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's this idea of a supernatural, but it's outer space.
Yeah.
Still,
Hmm.
it's like all encompassing terror that you can think of. We're gonna throw it all at you at once, and
Yeah, dude.
you know, and it's really something else to like
Hmm.
make those connections, and then really try to put a science behind the
Hmm.
science fiction and see, well, that might make sense. Maybe this is why we thought this.
Yeah, I mean, shit, the truth is they've just been chasing that same idea of living forever, and like
Hmm.
since forever. Just it was
Yeah.
whatever their grandiose ideas could be, like.
Right.
Magic turns into alchemy, turns into
Yeah,
science.
indistinguishable, man.
Turns into
Uh,
chemistry, turns into pharmacy.
yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So okay, cool. Well, that okay. All right. That's a satisfactory answer for me.
That's all I got, man.
So okay, what do you guys think about these monoliths? These 2001 monoliths. What is this?
I the only theory I came up with so far that's of interest would be that maybe they're trying to mark certain places, and they're trying to bring
Mm.
attention to the location, but I mean, honestly, it's probably like for like a new mellow yellow flavor or something.
Yeah, that's my favorite theory, is that it's some viral marketing campaign.
Yeah,
Somebody keeps saying it's Banksy's latest thing.
I know that I saw a close up of the Utah one when it first happened, and I'm pretty sure I saw rivets. So, but I could be wrong, man. I could be wrong about that, but it
That's
kind
the
of
thing
looked
is,
like
I
rivets.
didn't hear anything special about it.
Nah.
Nobody said anything about examining it. It was made out of any kind of thing. They just said it was a monolith. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
but man, I guess if it was something cool, they surely would tell us it wasn't.
right.
Well,
So I don't know, but
I don't know if you guys heard, but that one went missing, and then they found another one in Romania.
yeah, and there's one in California now.
Oh, okay.
Like the Romanian one went missing, and now there's one in
Oh,
California.
okay.
That's why I'm thinking, like, if it's not like some type of art or PR thing, then maybe someone's caring about those locations for some reason.
Yeah. It literally could be environmental activists doing something, or some
Yeah, totally.
activist group that's like got together globally and over the past couple of years said, hey, let's do this little, it's like a flash mob.
Yeah, no, it could be some serial killer market where you like people like there's no telling, dude. It's 2020, man.
Hey, you never know. You know,
I
somebody's gonna hang out there and they're about to detonate. Some dude's about to detonate shit there. I warned you.
I want it to be like promoting some new Netflix show, and then like
Yeah.
they finally announce it, and everyone's like, "Fuck you," and the show tanks.
Yeah, it's some garbage. It's some garbage reality shit that nobody likes
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's like,
Hey, baby, give me a lighter. Sorry, my wife has all my lighters.
So, have you guys heard about what's going on in Egypt and Ethiopia?
With what?
So, for like the past 10 years, Ethiopia has been constructing a dam on the Nile River,
Okay.
and it's finally finished now. And over like the last 10 years, Egypt and Sudan have been pressuring Ethiopia to sign legally binding papers saying that. Let me back up. The concern isn't that there's not going to be enough water. Basically, the Nile's big enough that they can dam it and use its energy, and then Egypt will still have plenty of water. The concern Egypt has is that if there is some kind of drought, Ethiopia is not legally obligated to release anything to them. So Ethiopia is wanting Sudan and Egypt to just take them for their word on it. Like, if it gets bad enough, we're going to release water. But those countries want something binding.
they want something to secure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're not gonna.
And
And I mean, it goes back to the why can't they just be good? Of course
yeah.
they'll be. Well, you never know.
It gets more complicated too, because they're talking about armed conflict, because Ethiopia doesn't seem like they're going to budge on this, and they're about, I think it's like this month, they're going to start filling it up. So, and the thing is, Egypt does not really have a strong military presence, so they don't have any way to stop this if it comes to that.
Right. Well,
and the other thing,
a lot of money.
The other thing is Sudan is like, so here's Ethiopia sort of, and then like here's Sudan, and then Egypt's like down here.
Okay.
Sudan is close enough to Ethiopia that they're going to benefit from this power mill.
Right.
They're going to benefit from this dam as well. So they are south of the river of Ethiopia, but so I mean it's kind of a toss up for them. It's a lose-win situation. But for Egypt, they're just fucked. Like if there's a drought, Egypt's just fucked. They don't get anything. It's just, and that's where it's standing right now. Maybe it won't come to that, but my major concern is other countries intervening in this affair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what it boils down to. That's where Egypt has its power, because they have so much political backing. And then what's going to happen? What's really going to happen is, like always happens, is you're probably going to have the UN step in.
Yeah, I would assume
they're going to step in and
world.
say, "We're the world police, and you got to do what we say." And because we control the block, because we're the majority of the people on the block. and we're surround you country wise, and
Yeah.
so
This.
I mean, it's one of those things that from the get go, if you'd ask me, you probably shouldn't be damming the damn river in the first place.
Hmm.
It seems like a weird course of action.
Yeah.
They
You know,
I think it's out of disparity. Like they don't have, or scarcity rather. Like
maybe it'll bring attention to them to get some new
yeah,
resources.
Right.
Like they can
yeah.
use it as leverage to gain
That'd
resources.
be cool.
Right.
That'd be the best outcome.
That
Yeah.
would be logical. That would be a
Right.
logical thing. But
Logic doesn't usually go hand in hand
not
with
usually.
political,
Yeah,
sociopolitics.
yeah, totally.
I bet people have been fighting over the Nile River since they discovered it.
Since it was before it was named, I'm sure.
Yeah, like
That's a rivers in general are just a huge thing in civilization.
Yeah.
yeah, the location of the Nile, man, it makes it very unique. You know,
I
like what surrounds the Nile.
I have heard that and I don't know where I heard this, so who fucking knows, but I've heard that the Nile supposedly used to run under one of the Great Pyramids, and
Yeah,
that
I was talking about that the other day. That when they figured out that
was he was telling me they found water erosion at the base of it, and
on the
that in the
Sphinx,
Sphinx. Okay, yeah,
on the Sphinx they have water erosion, and they've discovered years and years ago they figured out that Egypt's history is about 5,000 years older than we thought it was, and
there's a
the
lot of
Nile was moved over at that time, and it ran right next to where the pyramids are, and that's where the
mm.
aqueducts underneath would have
it-
flowed.
it- there's definitely a lot of theories about how they ran water under the Nile to produce like hydrogen and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff, man. Like I
yeah.
under the Sphinx, I mean.
Oh, the Sphinx. Oh, wow.
No, I'm sorry, the pyramids. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard stuff like that too.
It
Yeah.
comes from it comes from the idea that it's an occurrence, it's a phenomenon when you run water across certain types of
Mm.
metals or stone, certain
Yeah.
minerals, it will react very minutely. It'll give you a little bit of electric charge that is no good unless it's done on a massive scale, which
Yeah.
that's why the pyramids are massive.
I
I
gotcha.
On a
I
scale
know
like
they were
that.
able to. There were theories about how they were using the vibration of it in order as like a mixer, to be able to
Okay.
separate stuff because of
Okay.
that,
That
because of
makes
the
sense,
mass
too.
of it.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I mean, there's so much stuff that and you got to think civilizations and militaries, how secretive are we and everything about things. So why not the same way 5, 10,000 years ago? They're going to be secretive. If somebody comes in and nukes them, Egypt got taken over by how many different peoples?
Yeah.
Who's to say they were like, well, you know what, we're done for. Let's not, like Alexandria, it got burned down. Who knows what was in there?
Yeah, the libraries. You mean?
China,
Yeah.
when Qin formed China into China, he had every bit of history to that point destroyed, and he did it so thoroughly that China's only history goes back to Qin.
Wow.
Well, they got that mercury stuff under the pyramids in
That
China,
was
man.
Qin. That was
That stuff's
Qin.
like serious, man. That's
That,
serious stuff.
yeah, and that was Emperor Qin. He
Yeah.
thought he would be immortal by drinking mercury.
in some
How'd that
way,
work?
yeah.
Well, and that's what I always say. I said we still call China China.
There's a lot.
It's
There's a lot of instances of mercury being used, like when there was no reason. They'd be like messing around with mercury, man. It'd kill everybody.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they'd
it's
stay away
dangerous.
from it.
Or we might not know that. We've been told that maybe it's very powerful and very useful, and they just don't want us to be fooling with
Let's
it. I don't know.
everyone at home go drink mercury.
The
Just
Hindu-
kidding. Don't do that.
And I was reading, or I was watching something about this Hindu belief where they talk about, where they have sky ships and
Yeah, the
they
venomous or
talk
whatever,
about, yeah,
the
they talk about the
Mahabharata stuff.
Vedics, and they talk about using mercury
Yeah,
to
totally.
make them fly, and it's
Yeah.
written in the Vedics,
Yeah, totally.
and I mean that's older than
No, I know, and it's good science too, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, like they don't talk about that stuff much, man.
No,
You know,
they don't want us thinking about that. Critical thinking is bad.
it's so bad.
Don't be doing that. Using your head. So, hard segue. Do you have any ideas about? I mean, no one knows. It's the great mystery. But do you have any preconceptions about what happens when we die?
I guess, man. Yeah, like even if you just approach it at like the most basic science that we know, consciousness has got to be a form of electricity,
Hmm.
and energy doesn't cease. So something, I like find comfort in this idea that we're kind of like information gatherers, except it's really about experiences rather than information. And so I think that when we die, we carry all of that collected information to a source that uses it for a better purpose than we do.
Makes sense.
You know,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
man.
That's yeah. That's. I mean, that's. It's like the group consciousness idea, sort of like a nirvana thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
I figure that's what the Akashic record stuff is
mm,
all about. It's just that collective idea.
it's just all the minds where
They,
they lead to.
they don't talk about Casey a lot, man, but Edgar Casey, man, that guy kind of proved that that stuff wasn't, just an idea.
Who's Edward Casey?
Edgar Casey, he
Oh,
was this like, uh, he was just this American that really was capable of remote viewing to the extent
Didn't
that it was way beyond like.
didn't Casey have the time machine that he would sit on and crank up and have
No,
hippies?
no, Casey was like,
Who was
he
that?
would take like a nap, and he'd go
Okay.
into a trance state, and then he could like,
oh,
I mean, there's tons of documentation, man, about him.
Yeah,
Like,
I
was he
remember.
CIA?
nah, he was just a dude. He ended up
Okay,
making like a hospital, I think in Virginia, maybe, like trying to
okay.
heal people and shit. He died broke. Huh. They all die broke like that.
I've seen the CIA remote viewing operation stuff. Like
Yeah,
that stuff's neat.
yeah, I'm into all that stuff, man.
Um, okay, yeah, that's. I'll have to look him up later. That's the first I'd heard of him. Edgar
Yeah,
Yeah,
Casey.
it's
Edgar
funny you
Case.
say that because yeah, nobody. I haven't heard anybody bring him up in a while.
Mm.
Yeah, no, nobody
Um,
taught. I mean, they can't disprove him really. If I understand right, man, there's such a small percentage of his stuff that was documented because they documented him thoroughly, man. There's libraries, huh? And the only thing they couldn't really, he was wrong about was the Atlantis stuff, but that's just probably because they ain't figured that stuff out yet.
yeah, I mean,
I
Plato was too.
like Casey,
they
man.
didn't. They never proved him.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They couldn't prove him, or they couldn't prove alternately. He was
yeah.
wrong via opposing belief or whatever. Yeah.
There's tons of documentation about Casey, like going into
I'm
trances and
Well, see, I was
finding.
thinking that he was a guy that built, not the dude that wrote the time machine. I'm talking about it was a guy, and that's what he called it. And it was this thing he would get on. He said he would sit on it, and he would. That's what he would do. It would cause him to go into trances, and like little people would come and talk to him and tell him things. And maybe it wasn't him, but it was a guy
Yeah, I'm
who
not sure who that is.
he had a vision that way back that the little people came and talked to him and told him that we would find out around the turn of the century that Egypt was older than we thought it was, and a lot of the Egyptian things, and that there was a hole in the foot of the Sphinx.
Casey definitely talked about the Hall of Records at the Sphinx, and he definitely talked about
And it might have been him. It might have just been something I read so long ago that I'm getting it mixed up with something.
maybe
But
he
maybe I think that
definitely
was
did
him
like
that brought
trance
that
stuff.
up. Yeah, he would
He
go
would
into these
sleep.
trances, and he it was crazy because he had these prophetic visions all the way back then, and then years later when Egypt finally would let people go over there and check it out, a
Yeah,
lot of this stuff started coming true. They won't let them
yeah,
look in it, but they found a cavity by seismograph in the foot of
yeah,
the Sphinx. They
yeah.
found out that Egypt was older. They found out all this stuff, and they were like, It's craziness, like you're saying. Anything that they couldn't prove, they were like, "Well, he wasn't right about that." And it's
I,
like, well,
I know there's cases where like people would have illnesses, and that's what he did a lot was he cured people. And they were having a really hard time finding what he told them would cure their kid.
Mm.
And so they went back to Casey, and Casey tracked that down in some random state on the top of a shelf in a closed like pharmacy, like that had been just left. I mean, like stuff like that, man, like serious.
Wow.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
they called him the sleeping prophet. That's what I think they called him.
Yeah, I think I remember that because he was considered to be a prophet.
Yeah,
Because he said he would have visions,
yeah.
and he was a seer.
That's crazy.
That's definitely a rabbit hole Alex can dive down there.
Casey was
Yeah.
there when it first started. What he would do is he would just let people come to his house, and he would go in a trance, and they would ask him a question, and he would answer them. And what he found out was that he was getting really sick sometimes after them.
Mm.
And so he brought in someone to do like the notations. And that's when they found out that he would get sick when people would ask where gold was or where's the best place to drill. So when it became a profitable thing, even though he wasn't aware of that at
Oh
all.
shit.
So like it was well documented. I mean, there's thousands
Wow.
of these readings he did for people. And
That's really interesting because that has such implications to it. Like
yeah,
why
yeah.
would that cause him illness?
Well, I guess because that would alter like the destiny of that person. So maybe it's like messing
Wow.
with it.
Or because he knew it
That's
wasn't
what I
pure,
would think.
because it wasn't pure intent.
Yeah, pure intent.
Mm.
They knew it wasn't somebody coming to, figure out a way to better the life or life around them. It was just somebody coming to be like, hey, how can I, you know, it's like instead of asking them, how can I save the problems of the world, you know, what's the winning lottery number? So I can,
Which would probably be more useful in our
right, would be more useful directly to somebody. They're like, but I promise when I win the lottery, I'm going to do the same thing I would have done with the information that would have cured the world. I can just know that,
I also get paid though.
I also get paid. I just need to kick it to Haiti while the world is cool.
I love that secret space program stuff, dude. I love that stuff, dude.
I've heard that I'm sure the US does them too, but I've heard that Russia has like nuclear submarines. But someone was telling me about this.
Oh, yeah, the other night, Q was talking about that they got the submarine
Oh,
that will have the atomic tidal explosions that would sit off the coast and detonate a nuclear explosion that would send a tidal wave to annihilate the.
That makes sense.
But I was questioning whether or not they'd want to use nuclear because it would be such immense fallout. Most countries, even if they had to use nukes, they don't want to do a dirty detonation because it's just too detrimental to, the world. You got to be the mad, crazy leader that's like, fuck it all, Most of them are like, well, I do want to destroy that country, but we want to go get all their resources once they're gone.
We want to be alive after they're dead.
Yeah, we don't want the fucking fallout to come over here and kill us too. But but I mean that's Russia don't play. They don't. They do not. When it comes to power and military force. You ever seen footage of what they'll do when they see pirates underwaters? They will call and literally make a call to tell them to stop, to give up. And that's the only call they make. And after that, they will unload on it. You can see footage of it all over YouTube. Like guys out there with their phones, and they're out there with every weapon they got on the deck of the ship just shooting at it.
Crazy, man.
It's open fire. You're in our waters and we recognize you as pirates. So it's like the old school. There's no trial. Yeah.
Joseph, I ask everyone this. I always have trouble phrasing it though. I hesitate to say ghost stories because I don't think that's encompassing enough. Have you ever had an experience that you would consider, let's say, supernatural, you couldn't explain with
Tons, dude.
logic.
Like tons. I,
Any
I,
you want to tell us about?
like 3 days ago, I filmed a bunch of UFOs over by my house,
Oh
and like,
shit.
yeah, and like maybe like a year before that, uh, the same kind of UFOs were outside of my house, but I didn't film those. And like
Okay.
I've seen UFO, man. I grew up in Florida, man, and over the beach, man, you see UFOs, dude. So
Shit.
I've seen UFOs in Georgia.
Dude, I so
All kinds of stuff.
I ask everyone this that I have on the show. It's crazy to me how many people have experiences like this too. You know?
I, to me, it would seem more unusual that they haven't at least at one
No,
time
yeah,
encountered
yeah.
something, man.
No, I mean, like, I guess what I mean is, to me, that's like pretty hard evidence. It's like, who hasn't seen a UFO?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have, I haven't, but pretty much everyone I know has,
I,
and
I,
like they don't. Yeah,
I definitely subscribe to that shit, man.
yeah. Bob Lazar.
Yeah,
I fuck with some Bob Lazar. He's great. Uh, like, what I really like about him is he's extremely literal about his wording. Like,
yeah. He's very careful. He has
yeah,
to be now, man. They tried to
right,
ruin that guy, dude.
yeah, yeah. You know what we're talking about, Neif?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We were talking about him the other day.
Right.
The
Yeah.
Clutch mentions him in Escape from the Prison Planet. I think that's yeah. This is a Red Rover. Bob Lazar's coming over.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
You did
honey,
tell me that.
so honey, clear the airstrip and light up that stove. By Jove, I think it started. Oh yeah, Escape from the Prison Planet off the self title.
Nice.
did you
So, oh, go ahead.
did you see the? It was, I don't know. It's not very old, like a year or two. That was our movie on, I think,
Mm-hmm.
Netflix.
Yeah, I've
That was
seen it.
pretty good. I thought it was interesting that they're still like hassling that dude, man. Like, he
Yeah.
must have taken something from there because surely they wouldn't care about him anymore. He's as famous
Yeah,
as he can ever get, dude.
When they dropped that documentary on Netflix, me and my friends watched it, and this was a big topic of our debates: was does Bob Lazar actually have Element 115,
Yeah, dude.
or is it a bluff to keep him alive?
To me, man, it's logical that because now that's a known element,
Mm-hmm.
now it is.
Yeah.
But back then, man, it would make sense that if he had some from back then, that
yeah,
probably wasn't terrestrial. And so it would make sense that they would really want that back because it would probably be a little bit different than the kind we make.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
I
all
mean,
crazy.
when you talk about materials in general, I mean, you got to think about and it's right on the surface. A lot of people don't think about this in general, especially when people want to gloss over it like, oh, that's just conspiracy, blah blah blah. They don't think about how strong marketing is in materials. It doesn't even have to be as deep as the military. You guys remember the curved screen in what we called organic LEDs?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
I,
Well,
I
I
might
know what an
have
OLED
talked about
right,
is.
it.
right. About 8 or 9 years ago, they were coming out, and then they went on hold because I believe Samsung owns the patent, and they're not releasing it because we have slightly curved screens. But what a real organic LED is, it uses way less power. You can have a screen that you can have playing. You can literally punch a hole through it, and it'll keep playing. It'll just have a hole in it.
Mm.
You can bend it. You can set it down with a hammer and beat on it with a hammer, and you'll see it just, and it's fine. Those screens, because of their capability, they realized real fast, the military, that you can really do things with them.
Shit, you'd be able to make things invisible, man, with stuff
Exactly.
like
You
that.
can warp light. They're already doing that. I'm
Yeah.
already seeing them do that with what was allowed to be released, and real OLEDs disappeared.
Mm.
It,
And that was supposed to be, it was coming out for a Christmas. They literally had like phones, and these companies were pissed And Samsung, I think, who owned the patent, got the rap on it. And they were like, well, Samsung just decided it was, they weren't going to put it out so nobody else can put it out, yada, yada. And it was kind of weird. Everybody's like, what do you mean? And then all of a sudden, like the first curved screen came out, and it wasn't really the same thing. You know,
Mm.
they had phones literally you slide up, and it was a thin little piece of screen that came up out of it, and that was your whole screen, and you could bend it and flop it, and you did it with it, and then
I, I
Huh.
figure like technology wise, man, everything is either gone through the military and
yeah,
then
yeah,
released to the public to
Mm.
figure out new ways in which it could be used for the
Yes.
military. Like
Yes.
that's pretty much how I figure it functions, man.
I never thought about that latter part, but that's true. It's like, yeah, we're definitely behind our military, but the only reason we get it at all is to further
Yeah,
their understanding of it.
yeah. Well, I figure that's how everything functions, man. Because
well, that's
humans,
Mm.
and it's not
five
just the
humans.
military; it's also corporations do that too.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
You know,
5 humans will all do something different. So
yep.
get you a million
I
humans,
mean,
and
that's
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Gibson talked about that in Neuromancer and all of his stuff in the
yeah,
Sprawl. I mean, that's what it was. All these corporations ran everything. They still had a state and a military and police, but they really weren't. They'd lost a lot of power other than these corporations that owned and ran everything because corporations had their own private everything, and all the people in the slums were getting this technology released to them, and it was purposely being let to be stolen so that the populace could get it and the underground could get it, and that was and this is cyberpunk stuff. So this is medical implants, um,
Mm.
crazy cybernetic stuff that they're coming up with. But really, he wrote it very base. A lot of it had to do with drug use and just medical need or medical enhancement. So it wasn't that outlandish.
Mm.
And basically, you had these elitist companies using the populace to test all this stuff so they could sell it to the rich.
yeah,
Right.
You know?
yeah. It sounds right to me, man.
Yeah.
And the military just does that on a government level. Test
Yeah.
out all this stuff so we can have another government use it on their population.
You were
Mm.
talking about how like the corporations, and that's, I mean, like that's what's happening now. We're like
Right.
Omnicore because like all of the smaller businesses can't survive. All of the people who own the
Right.
land and buildings would
Yep.
rather have the money. So corporations are totally just buying
Right.
cities
And
now.
they have the lobbying power to
They,
adjust the
they
government.
got Omnicore, man. Huh,
Yep. If
you know,
if your company needs something done and a law is preventing it from happening, you will have that law changed by lobbying.
it,
If I want
dude.
to do something and a law prevents it from being done, I can't do it.
I mean, Chick-fil-A, man, they did terrible things in other places now, dude. They did that
Mm.
with their corporate money, man.
Yep.
Mm.
You know,
Chicknacore.
secure core scares. Secure core cares.
it's it's a crazy time to be alive. Like
Yeah,
it's such a to be alive at this point in time is like what a monumentous occasion we're all subject to. Just
yeah,
Subject, yeah, that's the way
yeah.
to put it.
yeah, yeah. I figure this like, I mean, like I say it loosely or whatever, but I mean, I'm pretty sure this is all like Agenda 21 stuff, man. They definitely could have
Hmm.
prevented a lot of things that
Mm.
it seems like
Oh
to
yeah.
me they escalated.
Mm.
Well, it
So,
baffles me how many people are for years and years and years railed against the system, and then all of a sudden, like just like the end of 1984, everybody just decided to be like, you know what, hey, let's just go ahead and give in to this because they're right.
yeah,
And then all of us that are still thinking the same thing going, but I still don't trust these guys. They're like, oh well, you're a nutball.
You know,
you
it's
know
funny. You brought up 1984. You know, what's obviously stuff like that is very, very important. Stuff like that in Animal Farm is extremely important.
yeah,
But also the downside to that, the dark side end of that is because those are very well written and they explain it very, very well, and it becomes such a trope. People are like, "Oh, well, that would never really happen." That's fiction.
Right.
It's like, oh, you think it's gonna happen like 1984? Oh, that's like, no, it's
And
exactly
that's what
how
I
it's going
mean.
to happen.
That's exactly what I mean when I say that information revolution failed.
Yeah.
It got commoditized, and now all
Mhm.
the information, even if it's good information, is subject to be whatever. It all has the same
Yeah.
value, you
I
know.
wouldn't, man, I wouldn't go as far as to say like Orwell was like a function of the government or whatever. But I do think that his books wouldn't have gotten published if it wasn't
Mhm.
for the usefulness of the predictive
Mm.
programming in those books.
You know, it's
Right.
probably something like this author is going to drop this book. We can either fight it or we can use it as propaganda against the thing he's
Well,
trying to fight for.
Yeah.
well, also what you have is it was banned, and a lot of his works were banned. There's a lot of books that have been
Mm.
banned in several countries and still are.
Daniken, man. They banned the
You
shit
know,
out of
Mm.
that.
I mean, even here, it's kind of funny. People talk about books being banned here, but that's not really the case. What happens is places will decide they won't sell your book, and that's where
Yeah.
you get the oligarchy
He,
coming in. You're saying, well, it doesn't matter if it's illegal to put it out; nobody's going to print it.
Mm.
Publisher back in the day, publishing used to mean something. You know, if you had something to say and you wanted to print it, somebody had to believe you and have validation in what you had to say to decide to back you and print your word. That's
Yeah.
why when you read the written word, it meant something. Now everybody can get online and publish whatever garbage they want to publish,
Mhm.
and you know that's why I see people. I ask a question and somebody will respond to me with an article. I'm like, why are you just sending me to some other dude I don't neither of us even know
Yeah.
for the answer? Well, he's such and such and such, and I'm like, I don't. That doesn't. I don't know that. I don't know him. He don't know me. You
it,
know.
it it is weird that way. Like, man, like when I was young, I was reading Daniken books when I was a kid and shit. And like I would have to go find that stuff, man. You couldn't just like online it. And
Right.
like for some
Libraries.
reason, I would always give it more credibility. Like I would believe it so much easier because it was in a book.
Mhm.
And even though I don't know I don't even know that stuff exists. Those people but for some reason back then, if it was in a book, then I believed it, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed to have a little more validity. And
Yeah.
also, if it wasn't true, it'd be sitting in the fiction section.
Yeah. That's exactly
And if it
right.
was
That's how I
proven
always
to be
thought it
false,
too.
then somebody would have taken it out of the library and said this was garbage.
Yeah.
Well, then you get older and you realize that somebody sometimes is the government,
Sometimes.
and it's like, wait a minute.
How many decades did it take America to wake up to that the news is propaganda?
Shit, dude. I
They
think that
still
just
haven't.
happened, man.
I mean,
It just happened.
Like in the last maybe
well,
4 years,
Because
maybe.
we're talking about
yeah,
how if something's in print, it gives it validation,
and
and then
some
that reminds me
some
of baby
people,
boomers. It's like, oh well, Fox News said this. It's
right.
like,
There's,
Well, I mean, that's just the thing is, I think a lot of people are going back to sleep to it. You know,
mm,
yeah, they just don't
the
care.
whole woke movement. I told a
that's
lot of
right.
kids, I'm like, look, man, it's like stay ready. You ain't got to get ready.
Mm.
I'm not woke because I never went to sleep. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, but
It's all weird to me, man. Like it's just all weird to me how everything has
Mm.
gotten so weird, man. Like I'm to the point now where I have to just get back to making art because there's nothing I can do about that shit, man. That all
Mm.
that stuff was probably orchestrated with dinosaurs walking in the background to me,
yep,
man. Like that's how
Yeah.
I
yep,
I care so much about oppression and man, that's like all they're giving us right now is oppression.
I think it's important to remember that even though the individual maybe we individually can't do much to help on our own, but together all contributing our one little bit, it's like we make waves, you know?
Man, like the music community here that I move around in and have become friends with and family and shit, all of that, if that was the way the world functioned, everything would be smooth. but like it just can't because they need us to consume things, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Need us
You
to go
know,
tax cattle.
Dude, I swear, like the fall of mankind was the first time some Neanderthal gave another Neanderthal like a shell to go move that rock over there. Like that was it. That was when it all went to crap, man.
Mm.
I think it was a little bit after that. I think it was when a third one stepped in and decided that he needed a piece of that shell.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah, I brought you two together, so I get my.
Wait a minute. Hey,
Where's
this
my
is
cup?
this is my beach. First off, so I need some of that shell off you for picking it up.
That's great, dude.
And then since you even over here to look at shells to pick to get for dude, I got to get some off you too.
That's great.
Oh
Oh, now
yeah.
y'all are exchanging on my beach. Well, I mean,
Oh yeah. Well, I've got a club. None of you get any of the shell.
right. That's
It's my
so
shell now.
when Ugg figured out he could pick a bone up and smash another bone.
Yeah, dude.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
like Kubrick taught us in the first 10 minutes of the film that told us everything.
Yeah, dude.
That was all it needed.
That was a great book, man. That
People
was a
say violence
fantastic
never
book.
did anything, and I say violence is what actually shaped the world more than anything.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, but it is what really shaped the planet.
At least we're finally living in a time where like technology and science, like I know that doesn't like, right now it's a little weird, but
Right,
we live in a world where, at least technology defines culture, at least in America, at least,
right. So yeah, I was saying that. What is it?
There are better things to define a culture, and there are worse things to define a culture.
Right, right. Well, technology tends to do it because people forget how crucial and how affecting technology is on a culture and a people.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean, it's
probably,
taken for granted. I mean,
yeah,
I said the other day, or talking about that somebody, made it was a joke. It was basically a joke post about Gen Xers. There's, just some smack talk and getting everybody riled up and talking a bunch of crazy shit. But it was something about Gen Xers and millennials. It was one of those little silly posts, and I had to chime in. I said, I think Gen Xers was the last generation not to be spoiled by technology.
yeah,
I mean, literally, and not to say that even my generation isn't somewhat spoiled by it or at least gotten very used to it. It's to the level with kids nowadays and even into the 20 year olds, early 30-year-olds, that it's a spoiling. It's not, it's a necessity to a level. And I'm not even just talking about cell phones or computers. I'm talking about every bit of technology that we have that people, if you drop them in the middle of the woods, they'd be completely functionless.
Yeah.
you, you know,
That's yeah.
I I kind of see like this loss of like knowledge and technology now, because like man, when I was young, I would go find a book at the library trying to figure something out, and I would read that book and I'd realize it had nothing to do with what I was trying to figure out. And so, like for every 10 books you read, only one of them really gave you what you were looking for, but you got 9 books of shit that didn't matter in your mind. And like I don't think that exists anymore at all, because you
Right.
just Google something and you accept it, and
Right.
that's it.
That's like Neif, do you remember when we had Barry on the show and we were talking about how, because yeah, if you're a musician specifically, you have all these tools available to you now that weren't available before. Like
Right.
access is so much easier.
Yep.
But the downside to that is if you're a new artist coming up right now, it's harder to have the discipline to learn an instrument to begin with
Right.
because you have so many distractions. Now, if you've already put the talent in and you know how to do something, you have all this vast array of tools for you. But I wonder, it feels like we probably get a drop off going forward in talent because people don't actually take the time to learn a craft
People
now.
people have felt like that for years with music, with
Mm.
pop music, even with hip hop, especially now. I mean, you know, it makes me feel old to talk about classic hip hop, but there's stuff that it's just like country. Country I was never a big fan of, but as it got worse and more modernized, I began to like the older country more because I could
I
hear
like
it
old
better,
country, man.
and I really
Mm.
dig some old country because I never heard it
Holy
before.
crap, dude! Somebody gave me a George Jones CD the other
Right.
day. Damn, I love George Jones,
So
dude.
right. And then same way with hip hop. There was a lot of hip hop I liked, but then there was a lot that just went by me as I was growing up. But hearing what's out now, when I listen back to the stuff that I used to listen to, I'm hearing more stuff that I didn't catch when I was
Mm.
younger,
Yeah,
and
And
I'm more
then, yeah.
appreciative of it. But it's just kind of, I mean, and that's really one of those things they talk about. It's just one of those things that happens. It's kind of a shame. It's one of the jokes people say, well, Neif, I hear your stuff and you're really good. Why aren't you on the radio? And I said, well, you hear what's on the radio? It's probably because I got talent. I mean, it makes me feel like I'm talented because that radio ain't gonna fucking play me.
yeah. I'm not usually offended if people don't dig what I did.
Right,
I love that people enjoy stuff, but
right.
in the end, man, Roughneck was the first time that I can think of in my whole life that I wrote something with the intention of people enjoying it, you know?
That's awesome, man.
I
That's
like the
real
way
art
you
though,
put that.
because that's real
Yeah,
art though. You're making it for you. It's a real
yeah,
Well,
expression.
I mean, and
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's, you know what, man, that really translates too. When I see you guys perform, like that's very apparent.
uh-huh.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just what we are, man, you know.
Mhm.
It
You know.
is. Yeah, it is very gimmickless, if you will.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I get a lot of crap for never like facing the crowd or
No, I mean,
anything.
Mm.
and I've got nothing against gimmicks. I mean, I use them where they're
Oh
needed.
yeah,
They're
dude,
great.
we do. You do great
But
props too, man.
but I mean, it's but it's one of those things where it's a performance.
Yeah.
So you are giving what you're intending on giving, and what you're giving is very raw and it's very direct.
Thanks.
So it doesn't, you're like, I'm not going to bother with any other fanfare. When I play a certain type, if I'm playing Neif stuff where it's, like what you saw when I played out there, I
Yeah.
will dress a little more appropriately on the level of a bard or a performer or something to just kind of give the air of
Yeah,
that. You
get
know what I
it
mean?
that shit
Mhm.
enhances it. I mean,
Right.
it really does, dude.
You know
And
something else
my
I've
metal
noticed?
project is much crazier looking, and if I'm playing punk or just playing a blues set, I might be wearing a cutoff,
You know,
Wooten, dude. Wooten, man. Those guys,
Oh yeah, yeah.
they make me
That's
want to
talk about
do
some
better.
stage
But
presence.
talented
yeah, dude,
motherfuckers.
ridiculous. Their stage is ridiculously good.
Um, I was gonna say I can't remember what it was. Um, shit.
So yeah, I mean, as far as performance go, I worked with them, and
Yeah,
some production and stuff, and yeah, it's really that Scuffle Moss himself really pushed me without actively pushing me. I
Mm.
was trying to get a lot more into video and theatrics and things like that, just because it's something I've always loved to do.
yeah,
I just haven't been around as many people to absorb it
Mm.
in, and working with those guys and getting around him a little more.
Yeah.
And even when I just go interview with him, it really gave me such a
yeah,
view of really going method with
yeah.
something. You know what I
Dedication,
mean?
man.
And
Dedicated,
I
dude.
remember telling him that from the get go when I met him. I said, I said, Scuffle Moss, one thing I've always appreciated about artists, whether or not they're human, is when they can give everything they
Damn it.
got and they really put themselves into their art. And I said, I
Yeah,
will
dude.
always support
Fuck.
that,
Can't get it
and
to
I'll
work.
never try to break them of that.
Hmm.
And that's the thing is,
Yeah,
I've I know I have so many connections, met so many people through Scuffle Muss, including you, Neif.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Me too. I met you through.
yeah. I mean, that's how he and I met was
mm,
because that was Scuffle Moss's his what was that the scuffling or no?
It was his birthday. It was his
Okay,
birthday.
I know it was an event
mm,
thing. Yeah, he
It,
had
it was
done.
like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's right.
Well, I think it's the
it's
last time I played live myself. Like,
that's I love I you know I I was raised really religiously, and then as soon as I turned 18 I moved out of that and I just got absorbed into going to local music all the time, and that like kind of replaced church for me, like because I would do it. There was when I was like 18, 19, like I was going to shows every Saturday, you know. It
Yeah,
became a religion
yeah.
almost. And like I really I love the sense of community in the local music scene. And like I mean it definitely has its downs too. Like people can get divisive and
Yeah.
like it gets petty sometimes, but like for the most part people just have really good energy and they're supportive of each other, and it's just a
Yeah.
really great environment.
Man, I can't even, like, honestly, man, I couldn't tell you how many shows I booked, dude. Like, and it's
Mm.
all just like people that knew someone I knew or whatever, so they would contact me, and like that's how everything is here, man.
Yeah.
It took me a, like when I first moved here, man, I just like played, at Third and Winsley and shit, and
Oh,
like I eventually got a show at that place called Open Lot. It was like this warehouse a long time ago, dude, like a decade ago or something, maybe. And they were avant-garde people, man. They were doing real art stuff, man. And I was doing like acoustic instrumental. I mean, it was interesting, not normal. But they kind of heckled me a little bit, dude. And I was like driving home through downtown looking at like all the neon boots and shit. And I totally, like, at that moment decided that I had to sit down and really understand what I'm getting ready to do
Mm.
here. And so it was
right.
like a good thing, man, and that's when we
Mm.
started, hanging ourselves when we played and shit like that, and as it progressed, it just more and more of an expression.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all because of people that I met, man. Like the Exists, they got us back into doing props because we did a show with them that was required. And then the Mouthhole, they let us do
Mouthful.
whatever we want, man, and
Yeah.
so
Mouthful, man.
we've done some
Yeah.
crazy shit at the Mouthhole, man, just because they allow us to do
Yeah.
it.
It's the fucking mouthful. You do whatever you want.
Like one of my favorite Platypus 9 performances was at the Mouthful during a Fester show, and we did this cannibal barbecue, and Lisa made like these lifelike, like she took mannequins and wrapped them in cellophane and then put like cake icing and fruit roll-ups, and I mean they looked like skinned human beings, man. And
Nice.
like we had all these fake like fires with lights and shit, but the coolest thing about that set was that we fried bacon on stage so it would make the smell of human beings. And
Dude.
that was only because we were hanging out with the band at the time called Terrible. They did like the house show video series. If you don't know about that, it's like this epic, like documented. You go in, you do an interview and a high quality video recording. I mean, there's so many bands on that. It went on for years,
Mm.
but they suggested we should cook bacon, and like that's the community, man. Is like
That's awesome.
Yeah.
somebody recommending you fry some bacon up there, dude.
That's awesome.
Mouthful has the like the weirdest, most random shit. I saw a there was a Smash Bros open tournament
Oh
there.
yeah, I went to that, dude.
You were there?
Yeah, I totally
The
was there.
Melee one?
Yeah, I didn't play
Dude,
though, but I was
okay.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first time I saw Flesh Eater.
Oh yeah, they're great, man.
Dude, I fell in love with them that night. They were fucking great.
Banana Tapes, man, they put out a lot of like good bands, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have stuff that we put out through Banana Tape.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we put out 2 songs with them. We
Okay.
did we did a split cassette with Xtronics, which is
Mm.
like what happened after the Exist became inactive. And then we were on a couple of comps. Yeah, we did a Mouthful comp and I think a record, like a cassette store
Nice.
comp or something.
Is that still a venue like going forward, do you think?
The Mouthful,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure once everything's normal it will be. But I did go to a Halloween show there that was incredibly safe. It was a lot safer
Oh,
than going to
okay.
the grocery store or anything.
Oh,
But
okay,
it was
cool.
very limited capacity, man, like
I,
outside and shit.
I'm just glad to hear they're not shutting it down or anything.
No, I'm pretty sure like all the people that you know that were
Mhm.
doing stuff. I don't think anybody's given up, man. I
That's
haven't.
cool, man.
A lot of the close downs have to do with the business itself. If you know
Yeah,
a lot of it's timing. If people had leases that were just about to run out, they're not going to renew them right now because
yeah.
or if they own the place and they're trying to keep it the doors open for something, or at least trying to
Mm,
keep
It,
all the bills low enough to keep paying for it until they can open it.
it
mm.
in the end, man, it's just going to breed new life into either
Yeah,
new
that's
venues
true.
or house show venues are going to become something again. Which
That's really
you know,
optimistic and positive and refreshing to
It's
hear. Cause like,
yeah, it's one of
yeah,
those things that I'm not real thrilled about it, but at the same time, I've been not real thrilled about a lot of things that happened, but
yeah,
it never stopped me from
hmm,
hitting record on the damn tape machine and getting a band to get some
it,
stuff
yeah,
out. You know what I
I,
mean?
I always think about those Russian X-ray records, man. Like when you try to stop art, people figure out they can make records out of old X-ray film.
Yep,
mm.
yep,
You can't stop people from
yep.
making art. If you try, they make better art. That's your outcome.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's the resistance. That's the
Yeah,
right.
pushback. Where and then it gives the artist a muse.
Right.
every lyric we ever have, man, it's about our worldviews on that stuff, man.
Right.
Hmm.
But it's like even like with the list, a lot of stuff that I write isn't so. I don't I don't write much socio-political stuff at all with my folkish acoustic Neif stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very, call it alkaloid folk. It's very heady
Oh, I
psychedelic.
love that
A
stuff.
lot of it's a little bit love
Mm.
songy, but I had a girl tell me years ago. She's like, "You songwriters, you guys just and you got to have a problem going on in your relationship, so you got something to write about." And I was like, um, okay. I can't really. I was like, because if you don't have turmoil, it's almost like there's a whole area of music or genre of expression that you're not going to be able to even touch on.
Yeah.
Honestly, you
For,
can't just
Yeah.
make up and bullshit the turmoil.
I feel like it's more like the opposite. It's like I
And
can't write about.
happy music doesn't sell.
It's like it's more like the opposite of what that girl was saying because it's like instead of it's like I can't write about cool sci-fi and cool fantasy stuff like I want to because I'm busy thinking about this issue in my
Right.
relationship.
Right, right. It's like, well, yeah, yeah. If you give me some time and at least chill and think about some happy shit, maybe I'd write a song about some happy shit. So, but yeah, I mean, but it's like you're saying. I think some of the best art comes out of turmoil.
Mhm.
dude,
Comes out of
suffering create. It's like the only way humans
Mm.
progress, I think, is through suffering, man.
right. Well, it's like invention. What is it? Necessity is a mother of invention.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like a heaven or a like a paradise like a Garden of Eden thing where it's like if things were perfect we'd get really bored.
Yeah, it's that way. I mean, crap, man.
That's like the rat utopian theory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'd invent problems. We'd fuck shit up just because it was too
It would alter
good.
us.
I,
It would alter us, and we wouldn't be able. Our animal
that
instincts wouldn't be able to deal with it.
to
Heaven
me,
is like taking the yin and yang and trying to get rid of the yang. It's like that doesn't work.
It's
That's
like
not what a human being
trying
is.
to bleed the dots into gray.
Yeah.
to me, man, that's what makes human beings so like uniquely powerful and
Mhm.
special is our inability to be satisfied, to always
Right.
Yes.
want to overreach.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's the staple of the artist too, being unsatisfied with your own performance. So
Totally.
you always improve yourself. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It's one of my favorite Muddy Waters songs is "Just Can't Be Satisfied."
I fucking love Muddy Waters.
I mean, it's that, and that is the thing is, that's both the evil and the good that we
Mm-hmm.
have. That's our downfall and the only reason we lift up.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah. We'll do
Yeah.
There's that word again. I'm gonna switch it up and start going triality.
that.
We're gonna figure out a third one just randomly.
Quadrality.
Quadrality.
Let's keep going up.
You know,
Yeah.
quantum duality. It's all about perspective and view.
um. So, okay, where do you think we come from? Where like, let's
I,
say physically, like our bodies.
what do you mean?
Uh,
I mean, like, are we
how did we
stardust?
evolve where we are?
Oh,
What?
genetic. I'm positive. Like, we were genetically engineered
Hmm.
by a far more advanced civilization, dude.
Like some Anunnaki shit? Because that's
Yeah,
what
like,
seems most likely to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it's the only thing that actually makes
Yeah.
sense,
the
man.
reason the
Yeah.
reason that we want gold so bad is we're inherently programmed to want to mine
Yeah,
minerals,
to collect it.
precious
Yeah.
Mm,
metals,
Now,
that's oh man,
to
I never
bring
thought about that.
to bring to our
yeah, we're
gods.
We're
predisposed.
And
obsessed
all of
with
our
rare
churches and
metals.
things
Yeah.
are adorned with gold and
Oh
adorned with
shit.
gold, and the priest, a high priestess, and the priest is right next to the church is just a little bit older than the bank.
Well, I mean, shit, man. There should be a lot more gold on Earth than there is.
Mm.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's all in China.
It makes for a great space travel. Gold does.
Well,
It
what's
works in
funny
so
is,
many ways.
what's funny is from a tech view, and it's kind of I've had other engineers use it as a disclaimer and use it as a point to shut down that theory as saying that gold, while it is good, it is not the best conductor. It is a
It's
great conductor,
but
but
it
it's
does
not the best.
reflect radiation, man.
Well, that right,
Oh.
and it only has one. It only has one type of corrosion that can affect it, so it will last for a million years when you shoot it in the space.
Gold reflects radiation. Wow.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have. That's why the mirroring on the
yeah,
foil
Okay.
on stuff, that's all gold.
Oh, okay.
That's why the shit costs $3 billion.
yeah, dude.
I
You know,
gotcha.
to
That's why
shoot it
your
in there.
iPhone's so expensive.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things is when you got, but nowadays we have materials we've designed, you know, that are better.
Yeah, shit, they're making diamonds like no
But the
problem now.
idea, but well, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't discredit to me. What that says to me is that whatever that civilization was at the point that they needed those minerals from this planet. They
Yeah,
might have been doing
Mm.
the same shit that we just figured out back on their mothership or the back on their planet.
Mm.
We didn't need to know that crap because we're just ape slaves down here
yeah,
digging in the mines. They're like, they don't need to know that crap, but their genetics were into us. So we began to evolve the same way they did. So now
Mm.
we are reaching points that they reached.
That seems
And
like I'm on the same page. I think that's probably the most likely outcome.
so now we're starting to question our gods because we're feeling like we are
Yeah.
them because we are them because they were them and yada yada yada.
I'm gonna I'm gonna get even more meta with this. Uh, like so quantum mechanics throws a big wrench in what I'm about to say. It's basically just a big spit in the face for this idea. But a long existing tradition has been as above, so below. That's an alchemical principle. It's in many, even whether they recognize it or not, it's in many, many belief systems. And
Right.
I was thinking, if you observe something on one scale, the idea is that changing the scale won't change that thing. Like it would be the same thing on a different scale. Um, so whenever I think about if we're like philosophically trying to understand life, it's like what do people do? We improve things and we entertain ourselves and we try to understand things. So it makes sense to me that if there is some kind of creator, not like a physical creator like some Anunnaki giving birth to us, but let's say more ethereal than that, like a universe creator, like a godhead. If there is something like that and we are made in his image, it makes sense to me that he's just trying to figure out what he is. He's trying to understand himself.
to me, man, science dictates that that has to be the case.
Hmm.
Uh, like
Yeah.
like when you think of M theory, which is probably real getting close to understanding things. There's multiverses, and there absolutely in one verse is some type of God creature, and that wouldn't be able to be contained inside a universe. So to me, like if there's a universe where Adolf Hitler won the war, and there's one where dinosaurs didn't die off, there's definitely one where there's something that evolved to the point it can manipulate matter with its mind. And that's all you would need to be what people would think is a god.
Okay.
So to me, science dictates that that is the case.
Okay. So maybe not God, but gods for sure.
Yeah, like I mean, you know, man, when we first started, dude, we were sleeping in holes in the ground that we dug. Then we moved to caves, and
Out on the
then we
tundra.
moved to airplanes and spaceships.
And here we are talking through Magic Box now.
Dude, I mean, honestly, like, you know, like we use cell phones and laptops and all that shit, but like, you know, man, a lot of that stuff doesn't really make sense on how it actually works. I had a friend that was in the military, and he was trained in communications, and no matter how high he got up, man, they never really could tell you how it worked. They just told you that they couldn't tell you why it, like why that would work, just that it does. You know, like I firmly believe that the ability to, for us right now to be going into outer space and coming back and, you know, being processed into data and then retranslated into audio and visual, and that's pretty impressive, man, for a split second faster than the mind type of operation, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like on the phone, man, I can talk to you and my words aren't really delayed to your ear, and that shit was turned into data into a satellite that pinpointed where you know, man, that's
insane.
it is,
Yeah,
man, it is.
You got a converter.
Yeah, dude. I mean, once you really break that shit down, man, that stuff's
Receiver,
moving faster
another
than the human
transmitter,
mind.
another receiver, another converter, all happening with the slightest little bit of lag time.
Going into outer space, man.
But we're so spoiled by this shit
Yeah.
that when we get a little bit of lag on the
Oh, dude, it
online
pisses me
video
off.
game, we're going,
Yeah, dude.
damn it, fuck this, I'm out of here, man. The server sucks.
Yeah, upload time sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this garbage? Can't you guys get this fixed? But the fact is that they really could. I tell people about that all the time. It's kind of like USB drives. You remember when the 1 gig came out? Everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's a whole gig right there." You know, now we got 64 gig
computers, man. They were like the size of houses.
Do you think that when they had the 1 gig, they didn't already have the 64?
Dude, we don't get nothing until they already like have used it to everything they can imagine it to be used for, dude.
You got to buy that up first.
Yeah, dude.
They don't need 64 gigs yet.
They didn't
need it in about 10 years when we let this other stuff out. It's all held technology.
There isn't much of me that believes they gave us Facebook because they really wanted us to come together and share our cultures and ideas.
I think it was an algorithm test that is blowing up in their face right
now. I figure YouTube is like, there's some dude somewhere that everybody really hates because he was the YouTube guy.
What's funny is all those creators are sitting in, you know, Tahiti with their toes in the
dude,
sand,
like Running Man.
Off,
they're like in that Tahiti back screen.
Yeah, like, they're like, do you see what all this did? I don't care. I'm rich. I'm on a yacht that circles the world forever.
Dude, they buy islands now. They got like moving islands that they fucking have.
What?
Yeah, man.
What the fuck?
A lot of the wealthy, man, instead of yachts, they're building islands.
There's got mobile islands. Get out of here.
Yeah.
China has gone and built islands. Yeah, there's a whole thing.
No, that's true.
Where they built islands up in international waters and said, we now claim this is our area because this is an island. It's not international waters anymore. This is our island. Yeah. It's not waters. And it's a huge thing. And everybody's like, wait a minute. And that's where technology jumps ahead of the fucking game.
Yeah.
And the governments can't keep up with it. They're like, wait, hold on. Facebook kind of the same way. The internet itself was the same way.
Yeah.
All this fucking information. People talk about the anarchist cookbook, you know, and they're like, oh, that was blah, blah, blah. Really, it's so obsolete if you read it. The recipes and all the crap in there it tells you, it's so freaking obsolete.
It was cool, though.
It is cool. It's great.
I saw,
the best part is the intro of him talking to you about why he wrote the book.
Did you see the documentary about him, man?
Yeah.
That shit was great, man.
Where
He's
he
all
comes
bitter
on
and
and he
shit,
pretty
dude.
much just talks to you about why he wrote it and
Yeah,
how it messed with him through his life. And he was like, look, I wasn't trying to start nothing. I was really just trying to get it across to people that information has to be free.
yeah,
The information has to be there.
Yes.
Otherwise, somebody gets authoritarian control.
Yes.
And all I
Yes.
wanted to do was level the playing field for the entire world by
That's
saying,
yeah.
don't go
That's what
do this
Tesla
shit.
did,
Don't go
man.
make this
That's what he
shit. But
tried.
this is
the
exactly how it's done. The internet's done that.
Yeah. No,
knowledge.
it
And
has, dude. It
you
has.
find
Knowledge
so
is
much
not a
more shit on
commodity.
online. Right.
Yeah, to be bought and sold. Knowledge that
That's why I say the information revolution failed because they were trying to, they've
capitalize
commoditized
on
it.
it.
Yeah. And it's now everybody is just disgruntled and they don't want to hear
I
it.
think, and that's
Well,
I'm
I mean,
not saying that if you're a tutor and you're a violin tutor and you're teaching a violin student something, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I'm not
fucking
like
violin teachers.
like knowledge of things,
But dude,
like withholding
no
knowledge.
there's no reason we should still be using like combustible engines, dude.
Right.
There's like
Mm.
no reason for that.
70% inefficiency on a
Yeah,
standard
dude, it's
gasoline combustible engine. That's from using petrol. And
yeah,
Mm.
petrol is one of the most efficient of them, which is why we converted it to that.
yeah.
But the
It's
fact
kind
is
of
that,
ridiculous.
I mean, you get into things like windmills and solar, they need batteries, and those batteries have to be mined out of lithium, and that's completely detrimental too.
It
Mm.
that's
The
gonna be
idea
the
is if we were to use less power, if companies were designing devices to use less power, this goes back to Tesla and Edison.
yeah,
Tesla was like, man, this shit, we don't need to be making money off this. And Edison was like, oh no, we absolutely have to be making
yeah,
money
dude,
off this.
yeah, dude.
And then the government agreed. No, no, we absolutely have to be made. You got to make money off that because we want a piece.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's sad, dude.
And since monopolies are illegal here, you figured out a natural monopoly. So you can get away
Oligarchy,
with that.
right? That's how like
Well, a
the cell
natural
phone
monopoly.
companies do it.
I want to.
Power companies,
Yeah,
everybody.
Mm.
power companies do that with, but cell phone companies can't get away with it because of their towers, and you can have multiple.
Hmm.
And the phone company had to offer the anti-monopoly law made the telephone company, if you want to be a wholesaler of telephone lines, they have to offer you a package deal on
Yeah,
them
that was
for.
like in the '80s, right?
Well, yeah, I think it happened then, but you saw back in the early 2000s where people would be like, when just before the landline pretty much went gone, where people don't even give a damn, it'd be like, your phone's back on. They'd have these little low down commercials, these hometown, local commercials. I thought your phone got cut off, man. I called such and such, and they hooked me up. That's what it was. It was somebody that called the phone company and got a packaged bulk rate wholesale. They had to offer wholesale, and that's
Yeah,
how you get around monopoly
Mm.
laws.
yeah,
Power companies ain't got it. Power companies, if you had another power company, you got to run another set of lines. You can't
Mm.
do that because you
yeah.
have freaking power lines everywhere. So they're like, well,
Oh,
you're just the
okay.
only one. Same with the phone company. It's
I
all AT.
gotcha.
It's all lines owned by AT&T. The power is all owned by NES or local power company.
Google, man, the Google Fiber shit in Nashville, man, it was crazy, man, how
Yeah,
they had to go about that. We have Google Fiber,
yeah.
and it is far better.
Is it?
But
My, I
man,
got
it was.
told it's run into my neighborhood now. Somebody on my street apparently got it, so I
Oh,
need to
dude, you
go.
should get Google Fiber. I had like devices, and I had like, AT&T and all that crap, man, and
Right.
none of them worked like they do. I had some devices that wouldn't even work, man, until I had Google Fiber.
I've got Xfinity, and
They're not
let me
Nashville.
just
Well,
say I'm no fan of Comcast, but they have
Ah,
really good fucking
well,
net
that's the
speed.
thing
Probably the
is
best I've ever had.
it's because the line is physically bigger.
Probably location also.
and
Like,
and I and well, and I talked to the AT&T, which is what I'm on over here, and I've even talked to them about it and said, look, when I had a problem with them, I said, look, I understand, I don't want to hear the spiel about this and that because I understand that Comcast is going to be faster. And they were like, well, sir. And I said, no, it's a coax line. It's a bigger line. It's going to run faster. But their customer service is horrendous. This is why I'm with AT&T
yeah,
because I know the speed isn't that much different and y'all actually will show up.
mm,
Please don't make me go back to Comcast because y'all started to suck too. And they,
it,
they popped on it. So
mm,
it was a
and
weird
that's
process.
really what they have is, but now that they got now they got fiber running, that's gonna smoke a coax connection.
Yeah, dude, I was really impressed with the difference, man. I really was.
I mean, and that's technology.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Fiber's been around for a long time. We just haven't had it running in the lines. But
Yeah,
as
fiber optics, man.
a company, like if you're in a big corporation and you're running off servers in there and you're not actually getting out on the web very often, you're shooting files around.
Yeah,
Um, the whole if the company was modern enough, the entire building would have fiber running,
yeah,
and you would never see an hourglass. I mean, you click stuff and it's just like lightning. But when you step outside of that, it depends on, even fiber coming in. If your computer isn't got the speed to grab it, it's only going to be as fast as it can grab.
yeah. I think that's how Google Fiber functions, man. It seems to like whatever the demand of the device is that can handle it. Then, because I couldn't get Hulu Plus on my like any of my
Right.
devices, and I mean HBO Max to work
Right.
until I did it on
Well, I
Google
mean,
Fiber.
because it's a light wave. And the idea is you're not losing anything on a light wave. The
Yeah,
same way you're losing things on a line, you don't have capacitance to resist the same way.
that,
Fiber is literally the fiber optic cable cannot be turned. You have to have a 90-degree turn to do it because it'll crack
yeah.
it. You can crimp it. We used
It
to get
took
them in
them
the
forever.
warehouse, and I'd pick them up and I'd see a big crimp and I'd be like, "That's garbage," and they'd be like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Somebody destroyed it
I
because
always heard that
you
like
shattered the mirrors inside of it."
I always heard that fiber optics was like part of the Roswell stuff, man. That's what I always
I
heard.
wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not far fetched technology.
Fiber
Yeah,
optic is you're talking
is
about reflecting images off of glass is what we're
yeah,
talking about,
you're
right?
and
talking,
like sending
yeah,
data through light.
That's pretty
yeah.
fucking crazy.
You're
I could
sending
definitely believe that's some alien shit.
Yeah,
you're sending a data via a light pulse, and
yeah,
Yeah.
that's weird.
whereas with a wave you got differing waves with differing um, patterns on it to create the data that it gets.
Yeah,
With light, it's a pulse,
yeah,
but
that's
light
just
is at
all
light
weird.
speed, and it is so fast, light speed, that and it's light. It is literally a light beam that is firing down this wire, the fiber
That's
optic
pretty
cable.
Yeah,
insane.
You look at them. I've got them on the back of my ADAT unit, and you look. There's a red beam. You plug in the wire. There's a little red beam that'll come out. It's a
yeah,
little light, and that's what it is. If you crimp that line, that light will go out, and you ruin the wire because it's
Yeah.
glass. It's literally designed with a bunch of tiny mirrors
Yeah.
that just keep the light running. And yeah, I mean, it's not anything that would have taken anybody some crazy discovery to figure out. Once we just figured out how to transmit data via and turn it into a communication like that, then all it took was somebody sitting and thinking one day. Back in the 40s or whatever, probably took some of that Leary. Hoffman.
Some of that Timothy Leary.
Probably in the 20s or the 30s or something. A friend of Hoffman.
Yeah.
Hey, check out this shit I just found out. Oh, that's heavy duty. I just figured out fiber optics.
And that's the story. That's how it happened.
Yeah, you'd be amazed.
Oh, I'm sure tons of stuff comes from psychedelics.
I mean, look at all those old cartoons that were in the movie theaters. Chuck Jones and Eye Freeling and all them dudes. Man,
oh yeah,
those dudes are getting that good Hollywood shit back in the day. that stuff they don't even make anymore. Man, wild stuff, but yeah.
Well, gentlemen,
they keep from us.
it's been fun, guys.
yeah,
It's been
great
good.
stuff, man.
Thanks for coming on and doing this, man.
Ah, thank you, man. I love it, dude. I love it.
Links below for Roughneck. Definitely check out Vladipus 9. They are avant-garde, cannot be defined.
Art rock.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. But definitely worth your time. Definitely check out what they got going on.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for making good content.
Thank
keeps us entertained. What else are we gonna do during Corona, right?
Yeah.
you.
And everyone at home, thanks for tuning in, watching with us. I mean, Alice, thanks for joining us at the tea party, Alice, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, Alice.
Bye.
Bye.